Have you ever wondered what would happen if they killed Batman and sent a cast of Riverdale rejects to avenge his death? Well, look no further. On this podcast, we like to discuss the most recent installment of a different series every show. Gotham Knights is a teen superhero series on the CW that premiered in March, and we're about to talk about the 5th episode, More Money, More Problems. It's April 14th. Welcome to today's episode.
I was more excited to do this podcast than usual because I saw this show was centered around the Court of Owls. They were going to be the villain for this season.
Yeah, and as soon as you saw that, you started to read the Court of Owls again, right? Had
Yeah.
you already read it before?
Yeah, I have the first 2 volumes of the series written by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and I thought they were great. I love them. They are such a cool villain, and I always thought that they would be like a great villain for either a movie or TV series like this. However, I was sad to hear because you told me they're not in this much, are they?
Yeah. As soon as I watched the episode, I came to you and I was like, stop reading. You don't need to read it. They mentioned the Court of Owls like 3 times, but other than that, you don't need to know anything about it.
So depressing because they're just they're just a round table of villains that are basically like, okay, let's just kill this high level elite person, and then they decide to do it.
Well, is the high level elite person Batman?
So yeah, it turns out to be.
Okay, and are they actually successful in doing it?
No.
Wait, what? So the whole premise of this show is probably just in one of those other DC realms because they have like a billion different universes, right?
Oh yeah, and we're definitely going to be getting into that later on.
Let's get into it right now because right now we have the ongoing DC shows, right? Right now it's The Flash.
The
Flash ends in
final
April.
Season.
In April 26th of this month.
Yeah.
So it's got one more episode left, and then Titans ends in May. So the month afterwards, Doom Patrol is still going, Superman and Lois is still going, Peacemaker, which I think obviously is still going because of James Gunn.
I'm talking more about the CW with their DC
I'm
shows.
listing all the live action ones still in existence. I'm not going to get into the animated because Harley Quinn's there and you got like a billion others. Yeah. But like Gotham Knights is the last one of the bunch. And that's the runt of the litter. This is the one that they like threw in there kind of as like baby Teen Titans, maybe. I don't know. My first thought was that it was going to be like Titans for a younger audience. It was also in my mind maybe a Gotham sequel because it's got the name Gotham in it.
Yeah, it's not the thing.
It's not.
So a lot of the cast, like for example, Oscar Morgan, he's the one that plays Turner Hayes in this show. It's his first series he's ever been in.
Turner Hayes, right?
Yeah.
Hayes. Do you know who Turner Hayes is in the show?
Is he Robin?
No, he's Batman's kid. He might be Robin, but he doesn't look like Robin. It's not Dick Grayson. It's not Jason Todd. It's not Tim Drake. It's not Damian, his actual son. It's Turner Hayes.
To be fair, that actually sounds fine. Because I remember when I was watching, I only saw the first season ever of Titans. But they had so many different Robins that they were introducing into that show that it kind of became confusing as to who was who. I think Dick Grayson was saving Jason Todd at one point, and then they also tried to bring in the other ones. It got kind of crazy.
But that doesn't really factor into the episode. When I went to the Wikipedia page, and this is the only reason I know that the Carrie character is actually supposed to be Robin. But again, I think that Batman should just open, or Bruce Wayne should just open an orphanage. And just like Alfred really must have had an impact on him because he just keeps on adopting young kids and raising them to be fighters.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I know a lot
He could be like Kanye. He could have his own school of like. Okay, sorry.
I was just gonna say a lot of the actors kind of came from Disney Channel. A lot of different Disney Channel places like Dula. She was in High School Musical, the series. Then you have Navia Robinson. She's the one that plays Carrie that you were just talking about.
Yeah, I will get into the team and then you can tell me where they're from in a second. Yeah. But if you have a game for me, let's play that first.
So
and then
we
jump into the plot.
have a true or false game. 5 questions here. While the critical and audience reviews might not be great, the show has found success via streaming. And remember what your answers are.
Okay. So I have to say no. Let me just answer throughout. I will say, I want to say false. Okay, false.
Actually, that's true.
Okay. Yeah. The reason is because I think it's on the CW streaming app, and I just don't see people going there to watch it.
It's actually also on HBO Max.
Maybe that's why.
Had you known that, you might have changed it. Okay, so the second one is the show is set to have a musical episode.
Oh, damn it. Do they sing? Misha Collins might sing. Misha Collins, Harvey Dent's character, may lead. Okay, I feel like I'm going to get all these wrong. True.
That's actually false.
God
I wanted to
damn
know
it.
if this show was going to be anything like Lucifer or like just how ridiculous this show got, because it seemed like
It just
from
doesn't
the
have
trailer,
the budget to be.
Yeah, it also seemed like just from the trailer it was supposed to be kind of dark and brooding, unlike Lucifer, which is supposed to be kind of light. Going to number 3, this series initially was meant to go into production sooner, but due to legal reasons with the Batman coming out and Warner Brothers, the CW pushed back the series a full year.
I'm just going to go with true.
That's false.
Cool. Let's keep going.
I just found it funny that the Batman came out last March, and then this had its first episode in March.
Okay.
The 4th one is Jensen Ackles was almost featured as Bruce Wayne, but the appearance never happened because of scheduling.
Wait, that like happened, but not for this show, right? Like I remember reading something about that, but just I didn't think it was this show. But I will go ahead and say true just to throw off.
Okay, that one is correct.
I was actually going to say false, but like I just went with the opposite.
Misha Collins. It's either Big Sky, the boys, or the Winchesters, I think, because he said he was working on a different show at the time. They really wanted to do it. It seemed like it was going to happen, and then they couldn't. The 5th one is, although there is a video game with the same title, also taking place in a post-Batman universe, and has the Court of Owls as antagonist, the projects are unrelated.
True.
Yes, that is one.
Okay, so true. I got the last 2 right. All right. So do you want to hear what the show's about?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Bruce Wayne is dead. And now this plucky group of Gotham Academy students, think of like Gossip Girl, but like for Gotham, and they're led by the Dark Knight's son himself. They're out to clear their own names and pick up the mantle for the city's new protectors. Okay. That is the show in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's kind of what I could gather from the trailer.
And so you've got Turner Hayes, which we've already established as Batman's son, and then along with him, the high schoolers are Duella, like you were saying. She's sort of like a Catwoman, Harley Quinn type. And then you have Stephanie. She's the blonde hacker with a celebrity mom. You have the sibling duo, Harper and Cullen. Cullen is trans, and Harper dates mobsters. And then lastly, you have the youngest, Carrie, who is 15 years old, and she's kind of like in a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse where she's got this group of friends that she can't tell her parents about. Her parents are like big role models, or her mom is. She's a doctor, and she's off like fighting crime and kind of discovering herself as a human being. But together they make up these Gotham Knights, right? But the thing I have to point out right at the beginning is Turner. His dialogue, even though they're all like teenagers, and I think they actually cast teens here as opposed to like 30-year-olds.
Yeah, like the Carrie that you were talking about, she's only 17, I know, and everyone else I think is either in their early 20s or in late teens.
Or like late teens, yeah. But their dialogue is so much like 50-year-old police officers in a police procedural that are stuck in adolescence.
So they don't sound like
I wrote down some of Turner specifically. Turner's lines are perfect for a cop show. Listen to these. Tell me you found an explanation for how a century-old, supposedly dead serial killer left fresh fingerprints on Eunice Monroe's music box. That was his first line. His first line in the show.
Wait, that's the first line that he says?
Yes, because this other person comes in with donuts, and he's like, tell me you found an explanation, you know? And then later it's, yeah, smart enough to worm their way into my dad's life.
Oh, God.
Pretending to care about us. So not grave, but just as dirty. Being reckless got us into this. We're going to have to be reckless to get us out. Or, what do you think's going to happen when they realize their new heroes are also their most wanted fugitives? I loved it. It was so dumb.
But like, it's usually I would think that character would have like really bad one-liners. That's what I thought you were going with.
Yeah.
But those just seem
aren't bad one-liners, Steve.
They just seem like they're all revenge-like lines.
They remind me of like when you take off the shades. You know, the TV trope where he has the shades and he just removes them as he says his lines. Okay. But yeah, the episode baddies here are the McKillen family.
The McKillen family.
Yeah. And the main character from the McKillen family is Dylan McKillen, and they make a joke about that later. But the city's most dangerous crime ring, and each one of them has their own baseball bat. That is their weapon of choice. In the first scene, we see a couple of their goons shake down a mom-and-pop bar when they come up short on the money. They smash some glasses, which have alcohol in them, on the bar, and then they throw a lighter, and they walk out before it actually burns down. And so, in my mind, I just don't understand why the mom and pop didn't, like, grab just their fire extinguisher and turn it out.
You would think
because they're like, you'll never be able to rebuild this place.
Is the place actually burned, though?
We see the bar light on fire, but again, it's not that far gone when they turn around and they just walk out.
Do we see the bar again
And they don't do anything to, like, incapacitate the owners. What?
I was asking if we see the bar again in the episode.
We see the owners again later on. They're like, oh man, these Gotham Knight guys sound cool. Okay, so these are the bad guys, and through a course of leads that's really not worth getting into, the Gotham Knights realize, by the way, the Gotham Knights, they all live in the clock tower of the school. But none of them attend the school except for Carrie and Stephanie because they're all wanted for Bruce Wayne's murder.
They live in a clock tower.
Yeah, so that's where their like hub is.
That almost reminds me of Animaniacs. Living in the water tower of the WB.
You always need a lair as like a cool kid gang or something. Yeah. Anyway, so they're in the clock tower and they come through all these leads and they find out that the McKillen family is laundering money for the Court of Owls, and the Court of Owls is who they think have something to do, who can clear their name for Bruce Wayne's murder.
Yeah, they've been. I think that you've seen a couple of them throughout the season, but I think it's mostly just been mentioned. The Court of Owls, what they are.
Yeah, and so their whole thing, because they know that the mob doesn't keep their financial records online, and that would be the only way they can trace the Court of Owls, apparently, is to rob the mob. So they're going to go to their facility and steal their bookkeeping and then follow the money to, and all that stuff is in a cement warehouse. And the McKillens are very religious, so they go to church on Sundays. So that's when they decide that they're going to
Sorry, wait, can you go through that again? Yeah. They're trying to rob the mob. Why?
Okay, so the McKillen family is laundering money for the Court of Owls, right? And so they must have some written track record of it, like their accounting must be intact. And they must keep it with the same place that they actually launder the money, according to the Gotham Knights. So what they're going to do is they're going to go over there while the family is at church and just knock out one guard, walk into the garage, and steal those records, right? That ledger.
Is that what they do, or is that
That's exactly what happens.
Okay, yeah.
Until, unfortunately, they get back from church, or at least one of them does, Dylan McKillen, and it turns out Dylan dated Harper, so they have a nice little back and forth. He's the only one who likes to carry a gun. Every other one of the McKillen family are with the baseball bats.
So they just didn't get up early enough, I guess, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and at the same time, and I'll get into this in a second, but like the school is having some sort of parent student lunch, and so when Carrie's mom shows up at that when she was not supposed to because she had work, Carrie gets in trouble. But getting back to the main plot, Dylan McKillen has them at gunpoint. He calls in that he has Batman's killers, and then he starts arguing with Harper about how selfish she is and how she never followed up after the job, and he whines and whines until throwing star. That's what Carrie knocks him out with.
And knocks him out. I thought that you were going to say he's dead. Like, no, it's to the head. And
no. This show is... Yeah, and the other thing is Turner carries around a katana on the back of his... he doesn't use it,
But he never uses it?
He just hangs out. Yeah, they don't do a lot of action in this series, which makes me very suspect of the budget.
I know they said, So when it came to the stunts, I learned that, like, they had very short time to actually learn the stunts. In fact, there's one that, Oscar Morgan was so excited about in the finale. You see it, but they apparently learned that only in one day, and that's supposed to be the finale fight scene, so I can only imagine the stunts are probably pretty low level.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
But so they are in this warehouse and the McKillen family is running towards them. They close the garage door and they tie up the Dylan McKillen. And then they find this big old pallet of money. Okay. Think Breaking Bad. There's 660 pounds, $30 million just stacked on a pallet.
That much
right
money.
There. Yes. And they're like, how do we get this money? How do we get out of this garage? And that's when the cops show up. But the cops are on the payroll of the McKillens. So now they have guns. The McKillens have bats. They're waiting outside. They're trying to get in. And this is where things get wonky. The getaway is that our Gotham Knights jump into a van. And then they, as soon as the garage opens up, just wheel out of there. They light something on fire, which ends up just being newspapers. But the McKillen family freaks out because they think it's the money. And they run over to that. But the cops start chasing them. And they're chasing. And so I think the money is in the back of the van, right? That's what we're led to believe. All right. And so then some of the kids are like, we have to slow down the cops. And that's when Carrie, opens the back doors and just starts throwing cash out. But there's not the pallet. The pallet is gone. They have bags. They have 5-pound bags.
So they never explain what happened to the pallet?
No, they tell us that that's $30 million there. They show us the pallet in the previous scene with all the money, which looks like the amount of money, 660 pounds worth. But then in the van, there's no way they could have actually fit the pallet in there. So I guess what they did writing-wise was they just said, let's stick a few of these bills into bags and tell the audience that it's all the money. It wasn't.
You're basically saying they would have needed way more time.
And also, that's not even the big critical problem here. She's throwing just bills out at a car that's chasing them, expecting that to do anything. and it's not doing shit. These cars are just following them, and the police end up getting stopped because they hit like a intersection where cars get stuck in front of them, and that's when people jump out and they start collecting the cash that's on the ground. But like other than that, it does nothing to stop them. That the car incident would have happened regardless, and they would have gotten away with or without the money. And the only one who seems to care about the fact that they just gave away millions of dollars was her name Duane? Duella, yeah, that's right. And so she's the only one that made any sense to me. And then at the end of the day, they're all back in their lair screaming, "We did it!" As the news reporter says, with this redistribution of wealth, we are one step closer to ending the McKillens' reign of terror.
Wait, what? But wait, aren't the McKillens still out? Like, aren't they still?
Yeah, it didn't stop the McKillens. It didn't do anything. It's like a one-time job for them. It's still $30 million. But at the same time, people don't get to keep the money that they find on the street. If you've ever seen those videos where like one of those cars goes down, and they have a few of them where like the highway where people were jumping out of their cars trying to, they have to give that back. And also people get charged with stuff if they do they don't return it.
I didn't know that. I thought.
Yeah. You have to give that money back or you get arrested. And so the idea that it's a redistribution of wealth, or that it would be an equal redistribution just because people are pulling up $100 bills on the thing, it made absolutely no sense. But that was part of the show where I realized like this was just meant for fun. The other storylines that we have real quick are Stephanie, who spent the whole episode at the parent-teacher luncheon kind of covering for Carrie, and also giving a speech. Her mom has a pill problem and also a drinking problem, and so she had to bring her back home, and we were supposed to feel sad about that. Carrie's mom finds out that she's been ditching school from the history teacher. Apparently, they don't have like a guidance counselor or someone to call them, vice principal or anything. And then Harvey Dent. That is the dual storyline, the second most important one, which I wanted to save till the end. You got Misha Collins here. He's playing Two-Face, but his face is fine, so it's more a mental Two-Face. It's a re-envision.
It's a re-envision, because I thought this was beforehand, because this is his first acting gig.
Well, Batman's dead, so I'd assume that it can't be beforehand.
It might be. This is his first acting gig since Supernatural.
Yeah.
And he gave like a full behind-the-scenes video. It was actually pretty interesting of the show on set. But yeah,
so he did what he did with Supernatural, where he was like walking around the back of the set.
Wasn't that meant as more of a comedy?
Yeah, it was a parody.
Though? Yeah, no, this was like an actual thing though.
Okay. His character here is going through the same problem, the dissociative identity disorder that Doom Patrol character had. What's her name? And then also Moon Knight. He's basically just waking up and being like, oh gosh, oh gee golly, what happened last night? Like that type of stuff. He's also running for mayor, and people really want him to win. He's like America's mayor, except not that America's mayor. And then... But the thing is, he's going to a shrink, and the shrink's like, you don't have the same problem as your dad. That would be highly unlikely. And then he gets a phone call that I think is like messing with his mind. It turns him into a different person, and that's the Two-Face side of him. We don't see
so maybe it is. Maybe
we just see him
mental.
Waking up. He thinks that he murdered the last mayor.
Wait, that he murdered the last mayor?
That's his suspicion.
Right,
is that he thinks he murdered the last mayor, and because he found a key with him that belonged to him, and he also is sleeping with the competitor's wife, but only when he's like out of his mind.
Right, because at the end of episode 3, there was an attack that happened, and that did, I think, end up killing his opponent or something like that.
Yeah, his storyline actually seems a little interesting. I would want to know where it goes, like what the deal is with the music that he's getting controlled by, if it's something like maybe the Penguin or the Joker's doing. But overall, we get one last storyline with Colin and Harper. Colin is super upset with Harper for having any connection to the McKillen family and not telling him about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then she yells, "I did it for you." And then she explains that she did the job because to help him with his top surgery. So that
his top surgery?
I will say I've never seen a show pulled that yet. It was kind of
that's how they end the episode.
That was one of the ending things. We also get this thing like where they talk about the ledger that they found, and they say it's in cipher mode, so they are going to have to crack it in order to find the owls or whatever. It didn't really matter. The show overall is like Tower Prep, that old like 2010 adolescent TV show.
I've never heard of what Tower Prep is before.
It's just the guy carries around a katana on his back, and it ends like a SpongeBob episode. So it's just a joke. It's a joke of a show. It gets a 4 out of 10. It was a fun watch.
It was a fun watch. Yeah. So I understand why it's called More Money, More Problems now. The thing is, the show has gotten kind of bad reviews, negative 4.4 on IMDb, 18% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, audience score 48%.
But the thing is, like, it's like division football, right? Where you have some classes that you can judge harsher than others, and this is definitely the lowest degree of division football, so you don't judge it harshly. I'm still going to give it a low rating and not recommend it, but I will also have a big sense of humor about it. So it was still fun.
That's very critical consensus reads never send amateurs to do a Batman's job. One thing I wanted to focus on though, because apparently this like kind of opened up a whole new can of worms, was the Wrap titled their review, CW's likely final DC series is a bummer ending the network's superhero legacy. And I was like, wait, what? Because I remember, Smallville, do you remember when that came out?
Like 2001.
It was 2001. CW has been doing DC-centric character shows since Smallville.
But James Gunn's whole DC thing
no. It actually has very little to do with that. Yeah, no, if you remember, this goes all the way back to Next Star, the deal that CW made. I brought it up during the Winchester's review that we did, where they were going to downscale shows considerably. They wanted to gut,
I know HBO Max. If it has anything to do with them, then yeah.
Well, they wanted to. Well, actually, it doesn't. That's.
Well, it does sort of, because they're connected. You said that this airs on HBO Max.
It does. I think, yeah. The thing is that Next Star, in fact, even in the industry, they're called Death Star, because whenever you make a deal with them, they want to gut all scripted TV shows. They want to really court the 58+ crowd.
Yeah, and this isn't doing it. This little, because I thought the lines, like I was saying, it's like a procedural. It's like a cop procedural.
No,
let's age them up by giving them these old lines.
Well, I think that just regardless, even if this got good reviews, the show's future is really in peril, because Batwoman, DC's Legend of Tomorrow.
And also there's a writing strike on
the
next
way.
month.
Yes.
So this show's done.
But Batwoman, DC's Legend of Tomorrow, and DC Stargirl were canceled by the
Joel
CW.
McHale show, and then the Batgirl one had its own problems, right? Or wait, was that the one with Ruby Rose? Or was that a different one?
Batgirl, I think, that was the Ruby Rose one, I think.
Yeah, so that one I was already going to get
canceled. And so it really made the only superhero drama on the CW by DC, The Flash, which again is ending, and Superman and Lois.
Now, it reminds me of when Marvel lost, or when Netflix lost Marvel. You know, it just slowly petered out but the last one to go was Daredevil, right?
Well, yeah, and that's actually the thing. So it's the same thing here. Superman and Lois. James Gunn said he has no intention of ending Superman and Lois. In fact, I think it's currently during its third season right now. And Greg Berlanti, he's the one who owns the CW, definitely as of now.
He just owns it all?
Yeah, cool. He says that DC Comics Fair will not be the focal point of the future for the CW. But that, again, brings me to how well this thing has...
how closely do you want to connect Riverdale to a DC series? Because technically they are, right?
You can, yeah, but that isn't its final season, like when we said when we did the review.
Mm-hmm.
But this is apparently the third best streaming show on HBO Max, right behind Succession and The Last of Us. And it's one of the 4 in the top 10 of HBO Max that isn't original.
That's weird.
So, yeah. And it had a strong premiere. It ranked 16.9 times the average series demand and a 146% increase since the first episode aired. So even though it's gotten these terrible reviews, people are still wanting to see it.
If I was going to give it a positive, the positive I would say is that it seems to be sticking to one storyline. There are a lot of shows by the 4th episode, they've solved what the original premise was, and then they're going off in their own, especially superhero shows. But this one, it's Batman is dead, and we need to figure out why. In episode 5, and they're still kind of taking every episode feels like a step, I would assume.
Okay.
So this one, I assume by the end of the series they'll meet the Court of Owls. And what do you think that would be like, since you have now read partially most of it?
Well, since you're saying it's so low budget, I don't think they're going to be able to make the Court of Owls suit look as cool as it does in the actual
suit.
Yeah.
It's not one guy though.
It's not one guy, but they send out an assassin, and they're always you've been ordered by the Court of Owls for death or something like that.
Are the Court of Owls ultimately good or bad?
Oh, they're bad.
Oh, they're just bad.
Yeah, they're bad villains. But it's going to be 13 episodes. The pilot, I think, was shot in Toronto, Ontario, except the rest of the series was shot in Atlanta. And I just wanted to bring up the irony of this. Apparently, the teaser for The Penguin, the TV series with Colin Farrell, based off of the Batman, has been released, I think, as of a couple hours ago.
Yeah, no, I think it was yesterday. But Human Target, I learned that while I was doing this, was actually a DC show.
Wait, what, really? Then, NBC
the 2010 show with that one guy. It doesn't make any sense, because I remember it, and it was just an action MacGyver type show.
Yeah, I thought it was just a Law and Order type show, actually, but I don't know.
Okay, well.
This by saying Natalie Abrams, Chad Fiveash, and James Stodorox created the show. They've worked on Supergirl, Batwoman, Switched at Birth, Vampire Diaries, and Gotham, as well as other things. They're very known in the CW verse, so it seems like they got people.
The CW verse?
Yeah.
You mean it's just the CW? Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.